Hey y'all, this is Wes. I am back with another video. It has been a month and 2 days since starting dental school at DCG here in Augusta, and I will admit I have been turned every which away in every direction except for loose. Dental school has come out the gate swinging, but that's okay. I've been pivoting and just rolling with the punches and at the end of the day, I've just been taking each day one day at a time. And within that day, take each class, test, quiz, assignment, and concept that has been presented to me. Just been taking it one day at a time, being proactive and getting help when needed, and just doing the best that I can. And just once again, pivoting as necessary. That's one critical thing about dental school. You're constantly having to pivot sooner rather than later. But I'm coming to you all today because this is my second video that I have created, and the theme of this the theme of this video will be where I'll be discussing interview tips. And so I remember last summer, in summer of 2024, when I was going through the process, I was like, okay, I applied to dental school. Now I'm receiving dental school invites because these schools want to get to meet me. And the information that was out on social media at the time, either it wasn't helpful or there were some things where the individual gave enough information, but I'm like, I wish they would have gave more. And so now I'm trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. So now that I'm officially on the inside of dental school, I'm a D1 now. I said, okay, I know what it was like a year ago. So let me come on YouTube again or social media and come up with a video and come up with a few pieces of advice that I can give to someone like you if you're watching this video who is applying to dental school, have been invited for a dental school interview in the hopes of becoming class of 2030 at whichever dental school of your choice. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, so tip number one, coming out the gate, you need to make sure that you did your homework on these schools. One of the questions that these dental schools will probably ask you is, okay, well, why are you applying to our school? What is it about our school that made you want to apply? And there are a number of different reasons people may give. Some people may say geography, where the school sits. Does it sit by the beach? Does it sit in an urban community? Does it sit in a rural community where it's peaceful, it's quiet and slow? That's a legit reason. Weather. I know one of the reasons why I applied to Tufts was because it's in Boston and I like the cold weather. I love my city. I was born and raised in Atlanta, but the summers here in Georgia are grueling and unbearable. And I said, yeah, I need a new change of scenery. That was one of the reasons why I applied to Tufts. One of the reasons why I applied to DCG, which leads to my next point, is affordability. How much does this school cost? You want to get a good quality education, but at the same time, that cost should be in the back of your mind because once you tap dance across that stage, you're going to be faced with a lot of debt unless you come from an affluent family who can pay for school out of pocket, or you receive the HPSP scholarship or the HSC scholarship. It's similar. I may be getting the letters wrong, but it's similar to HPSP, but it doesn't go into as much depth like that particular scholarship. But either way, cost is something you really do need to take into account. Also, diversity. Do you see yourself being on that campus? Do you feel as though there is somebody who looks like you who is also on that campus and thriving? That is another factor. And for me, I said, okay, I want to go to a school where, yes, not only do I feel comfortable walking on the campus of whichever school, before I found out it was DCG, I want to feel comfortable whichever school that not only I'm studying at, once I get through passing the biochem test or the microbiology test or waxing up tooth number 6, I want to be able to feel comfortable enough to walk on this campus and feel like I belong. Because the last thing I need is to go from one stressor to the next stressor, and I'm having to look over my shoulder like, okay, I don't know if I'm welcomed here. So diversity is another factor that you might want to take into account. So, whatever reason it may be, it may look different for everybody across the board. You need to make sure it's a valid one that will leave a positive impression on these schools. I can't not stress enough. Give yourself enough time to arrive early to your destination. So for me, I was born and raised in Atlanta, and if you're a true ATLian, you know the traffic is horrible, horrible. So for me, when I got the invites to interview at Tufts, Arizona, University of Florida, and DCG, Tufts was virtual. So Arizona, Florida, DCG, I arrived a day in advance, checked into the hotel, got all my bearings together, laid out my outfit, laid out my materials from my application, but yet I gave myself enough time to where I explored the city. I drove around. I was like, oh, okay, this neighborhood looks nice. Ooh, this neighborhood looked a little rough. Might want to avoid you. But I'm like, oh, okay. And while I was driving around those neighborhoods, in addition to that, I also mapped out the route that I needed to take to arrive to school in a timely manner so that, may God forbid, but the next day, if I woke up late or if I need to get breakfast along the way, I knew which streets to turn down on or which landmarks I needed to pass so that I can still arrive to my destination in a timely manner. The last thing I want for any of you, if you're watching this video, is that you did not allocate enough time to actually explore the city to see, could you see yourself living there for another 4 years? But more importantly, mapping out that route, mapping out the landmarks you need to pass in order to get to your destination in a timely manner. And this one required me to think outside the box. So I understand people love social media. Sometimes social media can be a good thing, other times social media can be a bad thing. So for me, what I mean by that is that I was part of DAT Facebook group, and I saw some individuals post in this the Facebook DAT Bootcamp Facebook group. Some people would ask, "Hey, my name is Sally Sue. I have an interview at XYZ University. Is there anybody here that can give me tips, tricks, or advice on what to say or what to do, what not to do in my upcoming interview?" And there were some individuals, whether they was a D1, 2, 3, 4, or had just graduated, they reached out to that individual and said, hey, shoot me a DM. So that prompted me to figure, okay, let me start reaching out to these students. So I want to say it was 2023 or 2024. Every school that I was looking to apply to, I started following those groups on Instagram because, you know, we live in a day and age where everybody promotes themselves on whatever social media platform. And when it was like a major organization, maybe like it was SNDA or ASDA, they would tag those individuals in those groups. And so what I would do is I would click on that individual's handle. I'm alluding to, I'm referring to Instagram. When I was on Instagram, I would click on that person's handle and I would see, oh, they are D2, 3, 4, 1, or just graduated. And what I did was I slid in their DMs, but I sent a professional message. I said, John Doe. Good morning, John Doe. My name is Mr. Wesley Clark. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I am in the process of applying to dental school come summer of 2024, if I'm going off of the year 2023. So I'm ultimately going to apply to XYZ University in summer of 2024, and I see that you're a student there. I understand you are extremely busy, but when you get the chance, is it possible we can set up a day and time to talk so that I can get a better idea of what is it like at X, Y, and Z University? Let me know what's your availability, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Now, depending on how busy that person is or how active they are or are not on social media, sometimes they responded within a minute, an hour, a day, a week, or a month. But either way, when they responded, now I got to connect. Now I have somebody who is actually on the inside of that school or may have graduated, but either way, they affiliated with the school and they can tell me, oh, yeah, with the interview, this is what you need to do. This is what you do not need to do. So I would say utilize social media to find these students and reach out to them. I highly recommend reaching out to some of those students. And in addition to social media, I would also like to add this blurb. So I know, I don't want to say they've fallen off, but productivity may have plateaued. But another thing is future DDS. It's two gentlemen. They were African American males. They both went to Tufts. I was watching their videos faithfully. Even though the content may be old now because the students who they interviewed at the time, they're now doctors. However, when I was going through the process, again, I mentioned 2023. So when I was getting prepared for dental school, I would watch their videos because they interviewed somebody at every school around America. So the videos that I watched that pertain to the schools that I was ultimately going to apply to, the student that they featured in that video, once again, I Googled their name. I took a risk. I Googled their name and to see, okay, are they on Facebook, Instagram? And more than likely, they was on Instagram. Again, slid in them DMs, sent a professional email, and yes, they once again responded. So if it wasn't in the DAT Bootcamp Facebook group, I got a hold of these individuals via Instagram, but I had to start off with YouTube, then pivot to Instagram. So either way, I highly recommend that you reach out to these students because yes, even though we're on the inside now in dental school, we're not too far removed from what we went through in the interview process. Another tip that I would like to give is that you need to make yourself memorable. And what I mean by that is present a fun fact about yourself. So when I was going through the DCG interview roughly a year ago, there was two. There was a student interview the day before the big interview with faculty and staff. And so it was orchestrated by a couple of dental students. And when my peers and we arrived for the student interview, they said, hey, give us your name, where you're from, school or schools you attended, and a fun fact. So when it got to me, I said, okay, well, my name is Wesley Clark. I'm from Decatur, Georgia. I started off at West Georgia, but ultimately graduated from UGA in undergrad, did a master's at Georgia State. And if I had to give a fun fact about myself, is that even though it took 7 long years, I thank God I was able to pay off roughly $20,000 of debt off of making an average salary of $16 an hour. And that was after taxes, not before. That was like, yeah, after taxes. And a lot of people in the interview group was like, whoa, say what? I'm like, yes, $20,000. You heard me right. So the interview process proceeded, but the next day, when I had the bigger interview with the faculty and staff, whenever we had breaks throughout the day, my peers was coming up to me along with dental students were like, hey, your name is Wes, right? I was like, yeah. They said, okay, that's what I thought. I remembered you for two reasons. One, because of your hair. I get it all the time. And then two, you paid off $20,000 of debt. Some of these people were saying, I'm struggling to pay off $2,000 of debt or $5,000, but you was able to pay off $20,000 of debt. Can you tell me what did you do? How did you do it? So, so it was very funny because now that I'm a D1 at DCG, some of those individuals who was in my interview cohort and some of the students who was on the student panel during the student interview part of the process, they remembered me for that. They was like, yeah, you the one that paid off $20,000 of debt. I was like, it was 7 long years, but yeah, I paid that off. So it's it's those little things you want to do to make yourself memorable without putting down others or making anybody else in your interview cohort feel less than. You don't have to step on someone's toes to make yourself be in a better position to stand out. Don't do that. And please don't reveal anything that's TMI. Just be unique and creative and just think outside the box to make yourself memorable. Now, last but not least, you hear me go on about my perspective on what I feel as though are some important tips or advice you should do heading to your dental school interview. But I would like to see what some of my peers have to say. So now I'm going to let my peers share with you all their personal opinions and perspectives.
Hi guys, my name is Mahogany and I'm a current D1 here at the Dental College of Georgia. And if I could offer any interview advice, I would say to just make sure that you ask questions. So utilize all the student panels, and also utilize the people that are interviewing you, and just ask them specific questions. It could be about themselves or it can be about the school. You just want to make sure that you don't leave any area when they ask you if you have any questions. So just kind of think of some things as you go through the interview questions. And there's always more things to learn about the school, because it is where you will be spending the next 4 years of your life. So you just want to make sure that you're very familiar with a lot of things. So just always ask questions. Y'all got this. Good luck.
Hi, my name is Cameron Kajnori. I'm a current D1, and if I had one piece of advice to give to incoming dental students, or if you have an interview, is to one, be prepared ahead of time. And I'm talking about if you have a nice suit that you want to get prepared, make sure you've ironed it, make sure you've ironed your pants, everything's ready to go before the morning of. If you look good, you feel good, you do good. That's my one piece of advice. And I would also say to know your application. It's super important that you're confident in what you've done and you're passionate about it. So basically, look good, feel good, and know what you're doing.
Hey guys, my name's Joanna Creason. I'm a current D1 at the Dental College of Georgia. And if I had a piece of advice for incoming students interviewing, it would be to try to get to know as many people as possible, even if this isn't your number one school or if you're really usually shy and introverted, like me. This is the place for a fresh start. Nobody knows you. Nobody knows that you're introverted. Just try to get to know as many people as possible. You can make connections. Um, yeah, I mean, just making as many connections as possible. Everyone's in the same boat. Everyone's nervous. Everyone's scared. Um, just bond with the people in the same boat as you. It'll make you feel a lot better.
Hey, my name is Tyler. And so one thing that definitely helped me out when I was applying to dental school and just got my interview is learning that everybody here who's interviewing you, all of the faculty, all of the students, they're all just normal people and they really just want to get to know who you are. And so if you can find a way to just kind of be yourself and be someone that they like and that you like, they'll really like you and they'll want to keep you around.
Hey, my name is Grant, and my one piece of advice for people that are interviewing is just to be confident. You were chosen out of thousands of applicants. They see your application and they know that you have something that they need. So go into the interview, be confident, know that you're there for a reason. Of course, you're going to be anxious, but trying to overlook that and just keep remembering that out of the thousands of people, they chose you.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Colin, and one piece of advice I would use to somebody about the interview is definitely get comfortable in the surroundings. If you can, try to get to the school and walk around, see if you can do a tour. Try to locate where you need to be, where you're going to be, time, like when you need to be there, how long it takes for you to get places, and being able to do that kind of gets that bit of anxiousness out of the way, so you can kind of focus on the interviews a little bit better.
So, like my peers said, yeah, they had some great points. Again, ask questions, be yourself, be confident, relax, get there early, dress to impress, get to know those in your cohort. I know right now this is the form that it says applicants to interview from DCG. I still have this, and there's a total of 16 or 17 of us, but there's a solid 8 or 9 of that 16 who we're now classmates. So yeah, get to know as many people in your interview cohort as possible. And on that note, I just wish you all the best. Breathe, relax, and if it's meant for you, it is. If not, another door will open up and everything will work out. I know when I interviewed at Florida, Tufts, Arizona, and DCG, I just said, God, whichever these 4 doors open up for me, I'm okay with the other doors not opening up for me because it was meant for somebody else. I'm a firm believer. I lean on my faith. When God closes one door, another one opens. And when the dust settled, it was DCG. So, with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, Now it's going to be another month before I put out another video because I got to get back to studying. But again, should you have any questions about the interview process or any other aspects of being a pre-dental student, then yeah, just shoot me an email at wesclark91@gmail.com or reach out to me via Instagram at WC_FIT, the letter N, educated. With that being said, good luck. Take care. Peace.